October 29, 2025. At precisely 3 a.m. Eastern Time, a set of documents hits the dark web, detailing surveillance so extreme it bypasses the checks and balances fundamental to American democracy. How could the Department of Justice, tasked with upholding the law, secretly turn its investigative power against the very people who write those laws? For years, the public has watched federal investigations unfold, assuming procedural rigor. But these files reveal a chilling piece of bureaucracy codenamed Arctic Frost, an operational vehicle designed not just to investigate, but to capture the private communications of sitting members of Congress. The twist? The documents suggest this wasn't about national security threats. It was a targeted, politically motivated sweep of the legislative branch during a heated election cycle. The silence of 11 lines. The narrative starts here, in the echo chamber of power. Imagine the Capitol dome, cold and silent under floodlights, but beneath the surface a wiretap has been running hot. New documents suggest the Biden Department of Justice engaged in what critics are already calling a systematic fishing expedition, aiming squarely at Republicans during the 2024 race. 11 separate lines of communication, belonging to members of Congress, were secretly subpoenaed. 11 voices suddenly silenced by a warrant that the owners never knew existed. The official narrative from the special counsel's office has maintained strict adherence to procedure, but the paper trail tells a different story, a story of ambition overriding protocol. We now know the chilling code name that masked this operation: Arctic Frost. This name, revealed by Senator Charles E. Grassley, doesn't sound like a standard investigative tool. It sounds like a deep-cover intelligence project. Senator Grassley was the first to publicly condemn the subpoenas, claiming they were clearly a fishing expedition. This sets up the initial, defining conflict: the overseer versus the investigator. When the investigator becomes the investigated, the machinery of government hides its tracks. This story echoes previous betrayals of public trust, the ghosts of past political battles advising the present, reminiscent of the break-in at DNC headquarters that brought down a presidency years ago. Freeway. The hidden mechanism. To understand the scope, we must trace the origins of this internal pressure. Whistleblower documents, allegedly generated from within the probe, speak of a palpable zeal within the Smith investigation to nail Mr. Trump. This dangerous ambition, driving federal agents forward, appears to have manifested in the creation of specialized, clandestine tools. Arctic Frost was allegedly the mechanism used to bypass standard judicial review needed for warrants targeting legislators. The rules designed to protect truth-tellers are being tested at the highest levels, especially since the SEC actively enforces rules prohibiting companies from impeding those who report wrongdoing. But when formal channels fail, secrets spill onto the internet, often leaving the whistleblowers themselves exposed to professional jeopardy. The sheer scale of the breach demands context. We see a stylized map of the Capitol, with 11 distinct glowing red phone icons representing the targeted offices. Who authorized the deployment of Arctic Frost for what appears to be partisan ends? The legal justification for using such an operational vehicle against domestic lawmakers remains the central, unanswered question. Let the Transtatimi when we securely be out the using with this co-environment for our world against rough middle ramps.
The force forwards means during biomandating, violence water donors televisit lightest hardy barbers big on joining press, this for the amazing poets.
The secrecy itself suggests an awareness within the DOJ that this action could not withstand public or judicial scrutiny. The echoes of overreach. The secrecy surrounding Arctic Frost forces us to confront the integrity of the entire system. Imagine the special counsel's office, the purported guardian of impartial justice, operating under a cloak of absolute administrative secrecy. We are seeing the inner workings of a political apparatus that allegedly believed its objective to secure damaging information on political opponents, justified violating the privacy of the legislative branch. This is the moment when the lines between investigation and obstruction blur into an indistinguishable mess. The documents hint at a deep-seated network, an old boys club potentially protecting the operations. When the information about the surveillance was first leaked, there were immediate, coordinated counter-narratives attempting to dismiss the claims. These denials, coming from figures within the DOJ structure, only reinforced the necessity of the whistleblower documents. Who is protecting the people exposing this surveillance? The investigation into Arctic Frost is now a battle over transparency itself. The unaccountable apparatus. The central mystery remains unanswered. What specific evidence, if any, legally justified the DOJ FBI utilizing the Arctic Frost investigative vehicle to target congressional phone records, and what high-ranking officials authorized this unprecedented step? The answer lies buried in classified internal memos, protected by the very executive secrecy this alleged operation exploited. We are left with the chilling conclusion that for a period, a powerful segment of the federal law enforcement structure operated beyond the checks intended to keep them accountable to Congress. The phone records of 11 representatives were seized, not based on imminent threat but perhaps driven by the zeal to nail a political rival. This practice, when deployed against legislators, turned surveillance from a tool of defense into a weapon of legislative intimidation. The secret congressional surveillance tap wasn't just a breach of privacy. It was a potential assault on the structure of government, authorized in the shadows by a program whose very existence was meant to remain unknown. The full impact of Arctic frost is still unfolding, leaving a scar on public trust that years of formal explanation may never fully repair.